10th. This replaces the February 6th meeting that was ended or terminated because of the snowstorm. So this replaces the February 6th meeting. Call the meeting to order. First item is elevation of alternates, and Ted and Lisa, I'd like to...
Liza.
I'll keep it
Liza.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm teasing you.
Lisa's night.
Oh,
Nice.
change your name.
No, don't do that.
Liza, sorry Liza.
That's okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the elevation
Second.
of alternates. All in favor? Yes. Okay, we have two voluminous minutes. Everybody should have had an opportunity to review them in detail. So I'll make a motion that I'll make the first one, December 4th of 2024. Make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Seconded.
Second, any comments?
Gosh, I didn't look at them, but I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're very complete.
I'm gonna-
They always
Well-
have.
Well, I'm gonna be doing something different, so.
Okay, all right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
January 2nd, 2025 minutes.
Those are pretty.
Looking for the approval on that. Any comments? That's still, again, a expansive document. Both of them were very well done. I appreciate Kate's work in terms of being
We're gonna
able
be
to
having a little
capture all.
change. We're gonna cut back a little bit. I'm
Right.
gonna be doing something a little different coming down the road.
Good.
That's okay.
Thanks to Mike. I've been researching it, but he's also,
Unless I'm missing something, the January minutes approved the December ones that we just voted to
What?
approve.
I think it was held back because
we
it
didn't
wasn't
have
a
a quorum.
All right,
Whatever.
okay, so
They're
let's,
approved.
We approved we did the November 7 minutes were approved at the December meeting.
Right. But the January meeting approved the December meeting, the minutes.
okay, so I
They
take
approved
it
them
back.
twice.
All right,
Well,
I'm not trying to cause a problem.
Yes, you
I mean,
are.
we can,
I guess there was,
no, I wrote the motion failed due to Moser and Olson abstaining and the board did not have a quorum. The minutes will be approved and voted on the February 6th meeting, but now it's the 10th.
okay.
So, no, we didn't approve them, everybody. I put that
Okay.
language in there so that we know we have to approve them at the February 6th meeting. We didn't have it, so we're doing it today. So we
Okay.
have to do the December.
Perfect.
or the-
Okay, well
all
then,
right, so that motion on December is good. So now let's
Yes.
go to January 2. Make a motion to approve.
We just did, didn't we?
so moved and seconded,
We're all set in the
all in
minutes.
favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Tim is not here.
Thank you, Tim.
Doug is not here.
Excuse me, Ralph, because the agenda had already been prepared,
Yep, we're gonna speak.
it was
I'll put you
suggested
under
that maybe I
new
could
business.
make some comments about the Old Home Week
Okay.
animal presentation under public comment.
Put
Or
it
new
in-
business. We'll put you under new business. New business.
Right.
Well, okay, whichever.
Okay, well, just, conservation easement, essentially, we had the meeting today, just before this meeting, and we've made substantial progress. We've completed the review of the entire draft easement, and we have plans to meet again in March to review the completed markups that we are going to deal with and talk with the attorney. So that's in progress. Review of property commitments.
They're not here.
Okay, I am willing to take the two that are missing.
That's Joy and Mark. Mark's
So
gone.
I'm going to relieve the burden of that activity from the two people
I'll
that
send you that.
have delayed their response.
All right.
Okay, a new business, Ted, you have some comments.
I took the liberty of contacting the program from Barrington that we've used for many years now for the animal show during Old Home Week. The show we had last year, again, 1 hour program with 7 animals, was $453. This year, that same program would be $528. It's almost a 20% increase. An alternative would be a smaller program of 6 animals for 3/4 of an hour, and that would be $430. I'm not looking for any, I'm just making these comments now so people can start thinking about the monies as to whether or not it's there and we can, they have the date reserved. I have the date reserved with them already. It's been
So
kind of
it's
fun
just
to
a
deal
matter
with
of
them.
committing to how big of a show.
I'm sorry?
We just have to, it's a matter of committing to what size show and
Yeah,
setting.
and we don't have to do it now. We're locked into the date already. And the, so at a future meeting, we'll have to decide so that
Okay.
we don't pay them until the day of the meeting, but we have to get the funds committed.
Well,
And the other thing would be the location. It's, for most of, all the programs have always been, let's say, plus or minus 40 people. Last year, we hit over 80 at the
Wow.
firehouse. Now, that's kind of quirky. I don't know if it's because it was at the firehouse, there's more visibility, or what it was. Kind of makes me think we ought to stay at the firehouse, but seating we have to get more chairs.
Oh, that's the downside.
Yeah.
We
Well,
don't have the chairs, we gotta get them from the
or
school.
if we get them from the
But
school.
we should be, and of course, that's a wild card too, because there was a motion made at the deliberative, but I don't know it's gonna happen that quickly, but
What was that again?
they're raising money to, well, it's gotta be voted and approved, but to resurface the gym floor.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I don't think that, from a vote in March, you never know.
No.
We'll plan accordingly, we'll just get 100 chairs for the fire station if we have to go there, it's not a
Yeah.
problem.
They can be brought over from the school, I presume.
That's where they came from anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just food for thought for the next meeting.
And I think we should probably come up with a donation basket for the event
That's a good idea.
to help. Just with a little note that we all appreciate the cost, everything's going up on everything.
Yeah, no, it's,
And if you're gonna attend the event, throw a couple bucks in the hat, it'll offset.
yeah.
People are pretty generous, especially, if they have a good time, they might donate
Yeah.
again at the end, just
That's a
to
good
make
idea.
sure that it happens
If we
again.
did that, where does that money go into? Like the town's general fund?
gift
No,
account.
we'd figure out into our gift account or
To go
whatever.
in the
Oh, I
gift
see.
account, I would
Right,
think.
and that could increase.
Well,
that.
that's, okay, good. More to talk about later, but I just thought I'd,
So it's
different-
about $100 that we need?
yeah, we went, let's see, 453 to 420, $75 more.
I think we probably, I certainly chip in, and I know other people who would to make up that difference, so
Figure
we
it
can
out.
talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just
Okay.
starting a ball.
Good.
You're not gonna have it happen.
No.
I'm sorry.
You're not gonna not.
It's gonna happen, we're either
Right.
gonna do the same show and spend $75 more, which is personally where I'm leaning, because.
Yeah.
I agree. It was,
I
I
like the
went,
idea
I
of a
was there
donation.
with Ted and I.
Well, if we're all in favor, I'm in
For it.
favor of the reverting to the same program. or-
Right. The
The-
bigger-
the-
The hour-long.
Yeah, let's
program.
just make the decision now and book
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
The
The
larger,
hour-long program with 7
So
animals.
Ted, make a
Okay.
motion, Ted.
So I can commit to that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we go with the larger program for the full hour at the increased price.
And we'll figure out how
And
to
we'll
pay for it
figure out-
later.
Well, no, we've got the money, it's just
Yeah.
we'll do some additional fundraising or solicit donations to offset it.
Okay.
Okay,
second it?
so let's make a
I'll
motion.
second the motion.
I motioned it,
Okay, motion.
Liza?
All in favor?
unanimous.
You know.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I have a couple of things, Ralph, under new business.
Okay,
We still need to define the situation, allowing members to participate by phone or not, what the criteria is gonna be for that, or how that's gonna be decided, because that needs to be
Mhm.
nailed down, so it's just not a whim or a personality contest, so that we know how that works.
okay.
I'm not saying we have to do that now, but I just think it needs to be on the agenda.
All right.
And I just want to voice my concern that Upper Saco Valley is hiring a lawyer who specializes in land trusts and easements. And this is, as we've said many times, the biggest thing the town has done on a conservation property. And so I feel that where we really do have the money in that account, we have over $50,000, that I think is a mistake. I think that our town attorney can do everything he wants, but that at the end, we should have an attorney who specializes in easements and land use just take one final gander at it, because we only get one shot, but this is gonna affect the town forever. So I just wanna say that I feel that we should do that. If you disagree, I respect that, but I feel I need to make
Okay.
my point.
Well, the point is that this is not something that is a novel kind of situation, that there's a whole body of known knowledge about this. I'm relying on the fact that our attorney has the competency to do it. I don't know about his staff, but most law firms have the ability to deal with real estate issues. And again, these easements are not, there's not much unique about these documents. It's a matter of, we've outlined our points that we feel are issues to us. So I think those issues are pretty narrow. I don't think, the rest of the body of all this is pretty well established. So I don't have an anxiety about using our attorney. And in fact, I think it's favorable to us in terms of having this guy own this document and the other firm owning the document. And that's important in terms of us maintaining and managing the easement over the long term.
Right, but the town attorney is at the whim of the selectmen. They had a town attorney in Diane Gora who was more conservation minded and who was actually the conservation chairman of her town. And then when all the STR issues became a big issue, they switched to a lawyer who had a bent towards that type of legislation. So I mean, the planning board has somebody who's good with STR. I mean, people have specialties, and I agree that you say that the law firm will own that easement, but that law firm may not be the same law firm 2 years from now
Well,
that the town hires.
That's fine. But in terms of, I think that, you know, we're dealing with the attorney that represents the town. So, and I think we get favorable treatment as a result of that. And I'm not sure that there's a significant difference in hiring someone. You know, in terms of the party that I think you're talking about, why don't we get an existing easement that he has put together? You can delete the names of the people associated with it, so it's not confidential, and we have that benefit. So there's opportunities for that kind of thing.
But I think each easement is particular to the land and the people giving it. I don't think, I mean, I do believe there's boilerplate language. It's only that I feel,
Well, let's see what the output is. Let's see if we're not happy, then we make that an issue.
I was just saying that I felt that Upper Saco Valley had hired a lawyer to review the easement that specializes in land trusts and easements, and we're using our town attorney. I'm not disparaging him at all, but that I feel that because this is such a big commitment by the town for this easement, that we should we have the money, hire an attorney who specializes in that field. And Ralph makes a good point that we're having the town attorney who, represents the town, and it's so, I mean, maybe my perception is not correct, but I just feel that somebody who has done more than one of those might be somebody who should be looking at it for the town.
Did you speak to Cordell? I thought somebody spoke to Cordell.
I think,
The only thing,
Kate did.
Kate had a conversation with Cordell,
I did
and Cordell, we sent him
the
an
easement at that
early
time.
draft
Mhm.
with the purpose of saying, we're not asking you to review it, we're not engaging you yet, but essentially give us a budgetary estimate.
And he said that he is not going to tell you what you want,
Mhm.
but he will review it for the legal aspects.
Right.
And he was comfortable doing that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like he was uncomfortable at
So-
all.
So that's my feeling in terms of, we have a town attorney who has ability to deal with town issues, and obviously has come across
he
real
was-
estate issues and things like that.
Was he with NHMA? He was like some
He
big,
was, he was state
something with
counsel
New Hampshire
for
Municipal
a lot,
Association.
a lot of years. I mean, there are, other lawyers call him with questions about municipal law. And he just, I feel extremely comfortable with him reviewing anything.
well, and you've dealt with him, you have had interactions with him that I haven't.
And he does have experience with real estate.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire does not recognize specialties.
Right.
You cannot say, take out an ad in the paper and say, I'm a lawyer and I specialize in it. You can't say that. You can say what you do, I practice in these areas, but you cannot use that S word. It's not recognized in New Hampshire. So anybody that told you they specialize in conservation easements, they're a damn liar, because they can't.
I hear both sides of this argument. I think both sides are valid. I will say that an attorney who does a lot of conservation work has a lot of experience and sees things in the corners that somebody else might not. So maybe it's like being an experienced driver and not being an experienced driver. If there is some sort of difference between Saco Valley and what our Conservation Commission has put forth, how would that be defended? How would our viewpoint be defended?
Well, that's the purpose of the attorney, in terms of, we've gone through an exercise on the latest draft. And we've concluded the review as of just a short time ago. We're going to meet again to refine our positions or describe, or go through a review. We've agreed now, at this point, to engage our attorney with that backup. We're gonna have a dialogue with him with respect to the reasonableness of those conditions that we've outlined. He is also going to be dealing with the legal issues and giving an opinion on some of the statements that they have in the draft. Then there is their side is going to have a conversation with the attorney, and we're gonna exchange drafts and comments and all of that. and deal with the negotiation process. So it's a normal kind of thing. So he is gonna deal with our comments first and deal with what was, and we've made some really good points in terms of what we believe is important to us. For example, what is permitted use of the property. That is, in my mind, is a key issue. The other issues relate to whether or not they can lease the property out, or change the boundary lines, or do all those kinds of things. We've said we don't want any of that to happen. So the attorney is gonna be fully aware that we have reservations about the draft that we've seen. The other side has not come up with a new draft, even though we've provided them with some of the initial comments about the situation. So it's a matter of, I believe we have a competent attorney. So I don't think there's a need to explore a new relationship with somebody else and all of that, which may have an understanding of the conservation easement. I don't think it's that unique. I don't think there's any ground, new grounds.
I'd
that
rather we stop saying that unless we know for a fact that he's never done one.
Right.
I haven't asked him, I don't know. But
Kate, had you asked him in your conversation if you'd
No,
ever
I wasn't
specifically
gonna
done that?
ask
Okay.
him something. I'm not gonna make the man feel like he's not incompetent. I can't do
Well,
that.
we can just let him know, it would just,
No,
reassure members of the
But
board.
he's
It's a-
agreed to do it.
his,
Yep,
his
yep, no.
review is gonna tell us whether or not our position with the draft that we've not created, but we've adjusted or whatever. His advice to us is gonna be whether it's defensible or not.
How many points of contention do you think there are?
Well, there's there's quite a few about really their ability to manage the property the way they want. For example, they want to be able to have de minimis commercial activity, for example. And I'm going like, why would you want that to happen?
What does that mean? De minimis, you said?
Small
Okay,
commercial enterprises.
okay. Such
Um,
as logging?
No, it's entertainment, it's like parties, it's like that kind of stuff. I'm going like, why are we dealing with all these incidental things that somebody is trying to make some money in the conservation area? So why would you even bother with that kind of stuff?
Are they talking about having a picnic area that somebody
No.
would rent out for
Uh,
parties? I mean,
Rent it out for
Well, something
parties
like
and things of
that.
that nature, and I'm
Their
going,
own fundraisers is what I had in mind.
right. So in terms of
Which they've
that,
done.
they want to be able to do a boundary line adjustment. They want to be able to lease the property. Why do we want to have lessees in the property? That kind of stuff.
did they explain what for, under what circumstances?
Oh, it's their draft, it's words
Yeah.
in their draft.
Okay.
We haven't had a conversation with them on that. So essentially, there's a lot of incidental kind of issues. The other issue, which is we just concluded what we view as permissible use of the, so it's a matter of they want the right to be able to decide what is permissible. They have the ability to say, gee, we want to have all-terrain vehicles go have an event there. Now, it's prohibited, but they can review it and make a determination as to whether or not that activity can happen. We're taking a position that says, no, it's not permissible, period. So there's a lot of issues like that where they want discretion. It took a while for us to really get them to understand that if they want to do logging, that we have the ability to decide whether or not that's appropriate. So now there's a forest management report that has to go in before they start logging. But before that, an earlier draft said, we'll get notice of it. All right, so there's a lot of things
Yep.
that have, over time, we've had some minor conversations, but they've corrected some of it in a later draft. It's an evolving issue. So I think we've nailed down what I think is appropriate for this, for the easement. So I think we're in good hands. I think we should rely on our attorney, because he's basically given us a budgetary estimate and says he's willing to do it.
So, without giving away any non-public or, legal advice or anything like that, we have worked with Cordell on similar sounding issues. And he has cited the RSAs and let us know things like permissible use and things like that. So I'm very comfortable, just to let you know in my experience with him, having dealt with similar issues.
It's all reassuring.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
I mean, you can call him and he will get back to you usually within that day. Like most jobs, I mean, Mike will tell you. He wasn't
Well,
they don't always get back to you.
It's a
in that
relationship,
timeframe.
and I think that is helpful to us in terms of he's gonna be responsive. It's not a one incidental kind of assignment, it's part of his whole
Yep.
practice with us. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's important.
Exactly. And I think that, that wasn't a concern. If I heard, Marcia's concerns that wasn't a concern, the relationship or responsiveness, it was just to make sure that he would be able to
Language.
address specific land issues. So it sounds like, I think he would easily be able to do that,
Okay?
based on
Good.
my actual experience.
Thank you. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, Ralph, is our meetings have been pretty short, but I think we need to set some new goals for the commission for the upcoming year.
Okay.
And also, you need to get the letter into the town report.
It's done.
So,
Yeah,
I
all my
don't,
boards are done. Everybody's done. Their
Except for
letters.
budget.
Oh, well.
Because that'll be,
We're-
that'll be,
I did those
that'll be
for
after
me.
tomorrow, after
So-
tomorrow's budget hearing, I think.
I just would think like we'd like to have a discussion about some goals that we could be working on
Okay.
during the meetings.
All right, let's schedule that for the March meeting, okay?
Okay.
All right, good. Came in at the right time. You're on the agenda right at this moment.
Oh, really? Well, I don't have a copy. What am I up to?
Just your selectmen's report.
Here.
Ah,
Hold on. Got your stuff right here.
Thank you. My apologies for being late, trying to juggle
Here, just take a
100 things.
All right.
It's yours.
That's your packet.
Nope.
Your throw paper across the table.
All right, so yeah, I think, the commission is satisfied with flatlining the commission budget for the upcoming year. I wanted to ask about, you probably have already spoken about it, but I just wanted to make sure that the digitization of records, is that on hold?
Yes.
Okay, all right, just wanted to confirm that. And then, the Tin Mountain increase, not Tin Mountain,
We have a warrant article.
the
Yeah.
Green
Green
Mountain.
Mountain
Yeah.
increase, so
Oh,
that's
you mean water?
the 10% increase in
The water.
in the water. That's all set and you can incorporate it in the existing budget?
We can.
Okay.
All right.
So we're gonna give them
We
the
were
increase
of
by
the
the...
mind that we were gonna inform them that we couldn't get the 10% increase. We haven't done that, but apparently now you've agreed to.
No, I'm just asking in terms, because tomorrow's the budget hearing.
We haven't communicated with Green Mountain,
Okay.
so we're open to whatever way that falls.
Yeah, because I'm specifically talking about the requested 10% increase,
Mhm.
the $165
Yeah.
that was in the budget, that's been taken out.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that that is kosher and
So,
copacetic.
how, are we going to make that up somehow?
No, we're not gonna pay it, they're gonna have to hold the line.
They're
We're
not gonna
holding
get
our
the
budget at
increase.
the request of the selectmen, they're not allowed to foist an increase on us. They gotta eat a little bit of the crow too.
mean, we get an awful lot for what they charge us. I'm just
I agree.
nervous about,
It was a $165 increase? The argument was made that other lines in the budget were underspent. So do you anticipate that that would be the case again? And that would cover the $165 increase, or? So those were the only changes to the budget.
so
Right.
we took out the $3,000 that we had in the budget for the legal line, but we made it into a warrant article, is that correct?
Fine.
But that wasn't in last year's budget. That was added to this and then
That's right,
pulled out.
that was added
Yeah,
to
so
this
just talking
year's
about
budget.
from last year's budget to, as it stands now, the only additions to the budget were the 500 for the digitization and then 165 to account for the 10% increase.
So,
And you have a supply line and you have a postage line.
I was
Do
gonna
we
say,
ever
the
use any of those lines?
is the postage line still there?
Yes, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
It's like, it used to be like $100, I think.
So,
Back in the old days when we used to get our packets the week before in the mail.
in the mail.
Oh. I like emailing them.
And they had it here for you.
Well,
Well, people brought them, you didn't have to make double
Oh,
copies,
I
but.
don't-
whatever
do
way
it
it
for the other boards,
falls,
so
we'll
that's
deal
for
with
everybody.
the issue, Joy.
Okay.
You know, and
All right.
we'll-
So-
we'll-
Just before the hearing tomorrow, I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure
So,
that,
so we will
We're aware
pay,
of the,
and that everything's, you're good with
we
it.
will pay the 165 extra, we'll take it out of postage and that kind of thing.
I'll have to look and see what's in there.
I'm
well,
sorry, I
if
don't
we're,
have
if
my
we're
binder.
underspent and we have the ability to,
And we do have some money still in the gift account,
We do have money, we're 270, what?
$261.
right, so.
So we have
so
some.
we can handle it.
So-
Okay.
So,
Okay, so-
we don't-
Just check.
I just want to be sure we pay them.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And we talked about the digitizing maybe coming from the legal line if we didn't use all that. Am I correct or am I imagining that?
You can't do that.
I didn't think we could, no. So there isn't any other way that we can do the digitizing?
Right. At this point.
We were tabling that till,
Okay, I'm okay with that.
See, the thing about that particular issue is that nobody has really good access to the town property reports. You have to go to either the library or you go here, and it's a voluminous book.
Yep.
And we've made an effort to update all the town reports. And by the way, I've taken over yours.
you don't have yours anymore.
Sorry.
So the issue for us is that we want to have people have the access if they're curious about a particular town property. And the other thing that's important about that too is that with the chain of ponds issue, which is going to be the highest quality property that we have. It's and Linda mentioned to me that they've done a qualitative assessment of conservation lands over the entire country, and we're in the top 5, believe it or not,
For what?
for grants and
Okay, all right.
and all of that. And in fact, groundwater committed initially to 250, moved it to 350 on their own. So they
So the
offered
groundwater grant?
$100,000 more
Wow.
came in as a result of the qualitative assessment across the whole country. So we're talking about, and I think it's important that when we acquire the easement, that we have the ability for people to readily access that kind of information in particular. And I think that's, so I'm really disappointed that the 500,000 is out, but I understand the issue. So we will not pursue it near term. It will be in a future year.
One thing that might help, I mean, granted, we're looking to hire an office assistant at some point, and I think the way to approach the digitizing is to scan without trying to do the text recognition. To just do flat scans, especially of handwritten stuff, and then just have a really fabulous index as to what each page is, just like the old deeds. You know, when you go into the Carroll County deeds, the really old deeds, they have an excellent index, so you can find what you're looking for, but you can't necessarily search the text of every page. So I think you don't necessarily have to, it's a lot more time consuming to scan and try to get to actually read the page to make the page searchable. But if you just have someone develop a really good table of contents index as to what's in there, that will do that, but.
Was the expense in the actual feeding the pages through the scanner, or feeding the pages into whatever digitalizes it? Or was the expense in, like you say, the reading, the quality of the document that was read, or the organizational piece? I mean, I just didn't know exactly where the expense fell.
It depends on how you do it, yeah. I mean, either way, you have to have somebody read the documents to make sure that that even if it's optical character recognition, that it was done correctly. But I think, you know, Kate showed me some of the documents. They're not gonna read. They're not- As much as we would like, as much as, you
Kinda
know,
like
as
our
good as
master
technology
plan.
is.
Master plan.
Yeah, that's
We
gonna
wanna go
require
there.
a manual, you know, someone kind of manually referencing keywords and things like that, but,
What if we had an intern, a summer intern, do that?
like a temp.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if if we get an office assistant and they have some downtime, not that I anticipate they would have downtime, but if there was a slow day, just have them start scanning stuff.
That could happen. I mean, but that person's gonna be.
They're primarily
I don't
you.
really know where that's all.
Yeah, primarily
going.
supporting you and Linda, some support of Bob, possibly police, but if there was a down day.
Yeah.
But do we have to decide the quality of what we want first? I mean, if we want to go for the additional expense of having it read the document?
That's a software expense.
And that's what we talked about 2 years ago when Emily was on the board about the software expense of it and all that stuff.
Yep. We're outsourcing it.
Right. And that's where it gets expensive.
Yep. The quick and easy is to scan it to PDFs and just have someone with patience to be able to create a good table of contents or good index. So it's kind of thought process on that.
Okay.
It sounds
Good.
like there's more to figure out.
Yep. And then I think other things that, you know, just touch on conservation are some of the big warrant articles. The SLAM is doing the watershed management study,
Right.
which obviously will affect the land and all that. Silver Lake Dam repairs, just gotta keep that on the radar. And then Mike's favorite topic, the PFAS and the
Mhm.
soil and water and stuff like that, that may be going into Forest Brook and North Lake and things like that. So just, there are three things I'm just trying to keep them, you know, kind of on the radar, and I've encouraged everyone to kind of keep talking to each other and keep working together, because maybe the watershed management study identifies a good solution for the dam. I mean, not sure, just,
Well, we were talking about setting goals for next year, so maybe those kinds of things should be on our agenda so that we don't let them slip away.
and they all have, I can't remember, I can't remember where, excuse me, where we landed with the dam, but they all have warrant articles,
Right.
so.
And Mike, you're on the PFAS stuff, aren't you? I mean, you're all up on that?
Nope.
No? Because I
That's fine now.
think, I for one would like to understand a little more about it, and I don't know if that should be a goal of the organization, or one of us should take that on and educate everybody else, but I think we need to know what that's all about.
Yep, I can give you information.
Good,
I
thank
can
you.
tell you too. I can tell you firsthand.
I know you can.
I have good news on that front, but I'll let you talk about that afterwards. I think that's the gist of it. Do you guys
Good.
have
Well,
anything for me?
Mark's
Do you want anything for me to bring to the next board meeting or to the budget meeting tomorrow?
No, I think we're fully engaged in terms of getting this conservation easement done. And I think once we get the reviewed document to the lawyer, I think the action will start in terms of an engagement with the other side. So I view that as the normal kind of situation in order to proceed on with the transaction. One of the things that I think is important is that there should be a recognition that this is probably the best use of the $213,000. We cannot buy anything substantial with that kind of money. The other thing that's important about it too is that if we aren't party to it, probably some of those grant holders are not going to come up with the money. So the whole deal stands a good chance of collapsing. So our input is very significant to that happening. The other thing too is that we are independent of the landowner, and I think that's very substantial. I mentioned a couple of things that we object to, that, you know, if they were left to their own devices, they could be leasing it out and doing all sorts of things that we don't think is appropriate. The other thing is that the town should have an interest in having rights to examine and deal with that particular property, and in fact, in perpetuity. So it survives if Upper Saco wants to sell the property, comes along with our easement. If Upper Saco wanted to sell it independent of our easement, we don't have any idea what the consequences are. So it's very significant, I think, in terms of us having reasonable control over what I view as a very significant asset. So I think that message needs to be conveyed in terms of, I think it's very important that we conclude this transaction.
Ralph, do you think that there's a danger that the 213,000 won't be forthcoming?
No, but I think it's a matter of if there are people that have question about it, because it's a environmental group that is acquiring the property. We have an independent view of what we consider to be important environmental activities that take place in the property. We have if we don't do the easement, we have no ability to have any input in what goes on in the property.
I mean, I disagree in that. I think if we don't put in the money and I think that land is still gonna sell because the Conservation Fund assigned the purchase and sales.
Right.
So it's a question of whether we want to have access to that property or not.
Right.
And that's the 213,000.
Yep.
Right. But
Because I
it's
think the property will be sold.
true. But again, it represents a complication.
Right.
And an unknown issue in terms of what really will happen with that property.
If we want any say, we have to pony up to 213.
Right.
Yeah. One other topic, if I can mention it, is the rail trail that they're talking about doing from Ospey up to North Conway, and its use. Obviously it goes right by Silver Lake, it's the, the railroad and all that. I think there are 8 miles that are Madison, I think, maybe it's only 6. But there's, conversations as to whether or not it will allow motorized things like snowmobiles and things like that, so.
Snowmobiles are permitted.
Yeah,
The corridor
But
is there.
ATVs and all that, we don't want because of the erosion, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Do we have actual say over what happens on the railroad tracks? Because we don't own the railroad tracks, do we? And that's the corridor that the snowmobiles use.
Right, we don't own anything.
No, I understand that, but I mean, if we have our easement, we can't, the state still has control of that corridor.
Right.
So we can say we don't want ATVs on it, but we can't stop them from putting ATVs on it. The state has to make that determination.
Right, but the state can't allow it to, they control the rail bed, that, to the extent that they do control it, there's a portion that they don't. That's a conversation for, well, not even for this committee. But the corridor 19, so to speak, is what they call it.
But the state
Anything the
owns,
state allows on that is independent from anything that happens outside of it.
but that corridor 19 that runs through the chain of ponds is all state,
Right.
right? So there's no, right, that's what I was trying to say.
Right, but the state can't authorize somebody to leave and go on to private property.
Right,
We're talking even in terms of summer use of that, and I think they're still privately owned, parts of Silver Lake and up the railroad tracks, towards Boulder Road. So they're kind of negotiating with that landowner as to what type of allowable uses, and I think they wouldn't be able for the, it's called the TAP grant, if they go motorized use and things, so there's.
it's complicated, and everything else.
Does a motorized use include an electric bicycle?
That is part of the conversations, I think, in terms of whether or not they can even use rail bikes and trying to determine what uses, so. I have a stack of information, I can share it.
Be interesting to keep that on the agenda too, to see
Yeah,
where that's
just to keep it on
going.
your radar.
Yeah.
Okay. Administrative communication,
Oh,
nothing?
I gotta jump to another meeting.
Okay. The accounts are highlighted. Forest maintenance account was increased by 56 cents in interest.
And that 2,772 was the bill that we paid to Tim, just so everybody's aware of that.
Okay, that's the bill.
Yep.
Land use charge, nothing new there. Gift account, nothing new. Capital reserve, 67,113. And no significant changes between the last 2 months. So,
Couldn't we take money for the digitalizing of the capital reserve fund? It might be too late now, but couldn't that money come out of there? That's for conservation purposes.
well, let's look into that.
Didn't-
I don't know for sure at this
Didn't-
point.
Is our warrant article up to $5,000?
Yep.
So if we don't spend the money on if we don't need $5,000 in legal fees, then we would maybe have that money to use for the digitalizing. So
I
we
wouldn't
need,
set anything in stone on that, because I can't guarantee,
Yeah.
he gave me an estimated quote, but I don't know back and forth.
Of course.
So I don't wanna say, oh yeah, we can do that, I know how
Right.
attorneys negotiate, so.
well,
That's-
but aside from that, if there was
Well-
money left over, then maybe we
I'd
could
have
put
to
that,
ask, yeah, because
I'll look into whether or not we can take money out of the capital reserve. I think it requires don't we have to go to?
It's a warrant
public
article.
hearing? Public
Town-
hearing?
town
Okay.
meeting. Or-
So we need a public hearing.
Is it town meeting or a public
And we need a
hearing?
warrant article.
Right,
Right.
so
withdraw-
we don't have a
Couldn't do it till-
warrant,
yeah.
we don't have a warrant article and we don't have a public hearing, so it may be an issue.
Well, I don't think we need the public hearing, I think we just need the warrant article.
Which I think they're,
Which needs to go to the public hearing, which is tomorrow night. It's
Right.
Too late.
Too late.
Okay. All right, with that,
Move to adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
I just did.
You did, okay.
second,
All in favor?
I,
You made it, and you seconded it, right?
I made it.
Oh, sorry.
I second.
I was listening.
I'll second, and all in favor, yes?
Yes.
Oh.
So tomorrow night here is the budget meeting?
No,
Or
it's
school?
school.
7 PM tomorrow